You with us, Robin? Or
Mayor
Carrie?
Pro Tem Bell,
Here.
Councilmember District B, Lane,
Present.
Councilmember District C, Mitch Titch,
Present.
Councilmember District D, McCullough.
Here.
Everybody's here and mayor's here, so
Wonderful. Thank you. Item 3, the invocation of the pledge. Of course, we do always ask God's richest blessings on our meeting. We do love our city and our country. Item 4 is citizens' participation, limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments from the public. At this time, any person with city-related business who is signed up may speak to council on a specific agenda item limited to 3 minutes. In compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, the city may not deliberate on comments. Personal attacks will not be allowed, and personnel matters should be addressed to the city manager during normal business hours. Do we have anyone wishing to speak?
looks like we have a Jeff Ebersol, but I think Dara said that he may be here for that abandonment item. And then we have a Melissa Washington.
She's got an item on the agenda too.
Okay. So, and that's all that I see. Can you see anybody else, Vinny?
No, ma'am, that's it.
Then hearing and seeing no one wishing to speak, we'll move on to item 5, which says old business, discussion, possible action. This is actually an agenda item on the regular agenda. So Tink, would you like to discuss this item, please?
Mayor and council, good evening. Item number 5A is discussion possible action regarding CARES Act interlocal agreement requested by the county of Galveston. We discussed this at the last regular meeting that we had, and the decision by council was to table this. As you recall, this is the request that came from Galveston County asking us to sign over 18% of our allotment that we CARES disbursement of $55 per capita for COVID-related expenses, asking us to sign over an 18% portion of that to them for continued, they stated for continued testing and some other reasons. And we decided to table it at the last meeting. I don't know that whether we have a whole lot of extra discussion related to that tonight or not. One point I would bring up, a couple of points actually that I want to bring up related to this. One, we received a notification this past week that there was some discussion as part of the most current stimulus bill that's being floated in Washington about some of that money that the states are holding on to that they did not directly disperse to us, about some of that money being basically clawed back to be used to pay for an extension in the unemployment benefits because the original CARES benefits ran out at the end of July. And so there was some discussion about potentially that being clawed back to cover that. They did not approve a stimulus bill and kind of stopped working on it as of the weekend. There were a number of presidential orders that were signed related to that, and one of those would extend or would do some work to extend the unemployment benefits, reducing that additional benefit from $600 to $400, but $100 of that $400 would be paid for by the states. State of Texas hasn't made a comment yet related to that as to whether they're going to match that, if that is a provision for that to be released. So we still don't really know if there's going to be an attempt to try to take back part of that original allotment that we got to serve other purposes. Well, what I was told was that the federal lobbyists were making some comments about the fact that the federal government was monitoring the amount of money that was still unexpended related to what had been distributed under the CARES Act, and that's why they were looking at clawing part of that back. And that goes back to the discussion we had about how the counties without a city counties under 500,000 in population, we were basically given 20% of our allotment up front. And the rest of it was on a reimbursement basis, and there was limitations that were put on that money by the governor that were not put on us by the federal government that the larger cities did not have. Now, a number of the smaller cities have sent letters to the governor requesting that he remove those arbitrary limitations so that we can put the money to use in the ways that we need to put it to use in our city to effectively respond to the COVID epidemic. And there's not been much movement on that yet either. So if you guys have any additional questions or comments on that, we'll be happy to answer them now or try to get you some answers before the regular meeting.
I don't have any additional questions or comments. I'm going to ask for a specific motion when we get to the item.
Hey, Tink, did we ever get anything else, any itemization on spend from the county?
No, and I talked to the folks in Texas City about this after our last council meeting. That was basically the same thing they had requested. Texas City didn't even put this on their agenda. Was basically the same thing that they had requested. They had told the county, what they told the county was, you know, if you want to send us a list of tests that you're going to do that have a Texas City address and we can verify that those are Texas City folks, you know, we'll sure look at paying them, but we're not just going to turn over an arbitrary portion of the funding when we don't know exactly how many of those, you know, how much that money would actually get back to Texas City residents. And I don't know that they've received any statement or anything yet. I've not heard that they've received a statement yet breaking down what was actually going to be spent on.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful.
Hey, Tink.
Yes.
I hear. I have a question, but I hear Councilwoman McAuliffe having one as well. So I'll allow her to go, and then I'll come after her.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I was kind of piggybacking on Robert's question about whether there had been any follow-up from the county. And I remember one of the questions we had that we were hoping the county could enlighten us on was in regards to their reserves, that large amount they have in reserves, and whether there's any type of plan to utilize any of that for some of this testing.
The only comment that I had received from the county related to their reserves was that they consider that general fund, property tax money that shouldn't be used for this purpose, and that because it already had other uses. And that was the only response I ever got on property tax, on their reserves being used to pay for the testing. Now, one other interesting note that I would point out, since the last time we met, if you guys are keeping up with our daily numbers, et cetera, number of tests have reduced significantly. They're not testing near as many people. And I don't know if that's a product of the cost or what that's a product of, but the number of tests that we're doing daily in Galveston County has gone down significantly since the last time we talked. And we are working twofold on testing for our community. One, Charlene has been in contact with the state. About the same time all this happened, the state also changed from having the military do the state testing to a private contractor doing it. The last time the military was in here, I think they did about 180, 160 tests, somewhere in there was what they could do. Private contractor is supposed to be able to do about 400 to 450 tests a day. And we have one in the works right now coming in, so we'll have another testing program here in the near future. In Texas City, we had talked with Texas City a couple of times about doing some joint testing with them so that we could get a weekly test date set up, and we kind of went back and forth about a location to do that. If we could find a location that was right on the border between both cities or fairly close, to have a location where everybody could get to it as easily. And what we may end up doing is have it where it rotates. One time it's in theirs, and one time it's here, but it's open to both Texas City and the Marque residents, so that we can try to get a weekly testing program worked out too. So we're still working on both of those, but we're continuing to work on testing opportunities for our local folks to make sure that they have a chance to get tested.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Tink, I wanted to drill down, and maybe you don't know, but I wanted to drill down into this idea that the county is expressing the desire to be reimbursed for testing that they do in municipalities. My question would be, when, and you may not know this, when those funds were dispersed to the county through the state government, through the federal government, were they specifically earmarked for testing, A, and B, were they specifically earmarked for testing of residents that reside in unincorporated areas of the county?
Okay, so the money that they got, their count, their population count for the per capita allotment was just for the unincorporated areas. So they got an amount of money based on the number of citizens that lived in the unincorporated areas. So yes, theirs was specifically for those people that weren't captured within a city population someplace. I believe their limitations as far as what it could be spent on were the same as ours. I think it was a 75-25 limitation. 75% had to be spent on something directly related to medical expenses, and the 25% that could be spent on equipment or whatever else that was needed to be able to work during these times. So we've used it for everything from putting up partitions in City Hall to in some of our buildings to have a barrier between folks when they come into the social distancing signs at the parks, a number of different things that fit into that other category.
To your knowledge, including the city of Lamarque, final question on this one at this time. To your knowledge, including the city of Lamarque, has any municipality formally requested that the county provide testing for our residents?
I don't know, municipality wide, I'm not sure. So what the county has done, the county's not going, the county's had some remote clinics. They've had UTMB doing all their testing. So UTMB's done all the testing for the county. So when they went to Texas City and did the nursing homes, when they went to League City and did the nursing homes, the other ones they've had UTMB set those clinics up. The 2 UTMB clinics that we've had, we've paid for. Now I know the nursing homes in Texas City, League City, the county paid for those. The mobile deals that they did at Texas City and League City, I'm not sure how that was funded. I would have no idea how that was funded.
So let's drill down on what we do know. We as a council have not formally requested the county provide testing for any of our residents, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes, sir.
there are no other questions. Let's move to item 6 and please continue with the consent agenda.
Okay, item 6A, discussion relating to adopting resolution number R-2020-0013, rescinding resolution number R-2020-0011, which awarded engineering services to Attico LLC and LNV LLC for the 2020 Community Development Block Grant mitigation through the Texas General Land Office. And I'm going to let Charlene and Melissa talk to you about this one real quick. This is a technicality we've got to get worked out. So Charlene, go ahead.
Hi. Yes, at the July meeting, we approved the engineering awards to Attico and to LNV. We also approved our grant administrator as GrantWorks. As they were going through the paperwork, they discovered that the word engineering was missing from our publication in our newspaper. So they've asked us as a formality to repost and rescind the original resolution, repost, and we'll reopen the qualifications on August 19th. The 8 respondents will not have to resubmit. So it's just waiting to see if there are any new proposed qualifications received. And Melissa, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I don't really have anything right now. I was just calling to listen in, but I do know that with federal regulations as they are, the best thing to do is to make sure you have all of that appropriate wording in now, instead of going through the entire process and having someone have to recuse themselves because of one word that was not in an RFP. So thank you guys for working to make this happen.
Just trying to make sure we got all our T's crossed and our I's dotted so there's no hiccups when we get to the point of submitting the grant. This will not have any effect on timing or anything else. We're still fine with timing and everything else. We just need to get it done. Any questions on 6A? Okay, moving on. Item 6B, discussion related to awarding bid number LM-09-21 and approved contract for mowing services to Parish and Parish Tractor Services in the amount of $32,472. Kathleen, are you on here? Didn't see Kathleen. Charlene, did you help her with that one?
I did help her. I may be able to answer a few questions if there are any.
So this will be the mowing contract for
This will be
any of our
the,
code compliance.
yes, code compliance, any emergency board ups, the vacant lots and so forth that she does on an annual basis to keep the city neat and tidy.
Any questions related to 6B? Seeing none. Item 6C, discussion relating to authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement between the city of Lamarque and the county of Galveston for the city's continued participation in the Galveston County Auto Crimes Task Force. Chief Jackson, you want to talk about this one real quick?
Yes, sorry, here I am. So this is our continued participation in the Galveston County Auto Crimes Task Force grant. We have participated in this with the county for 6 years. This allows us to have a Lamarque police officer who is attached to the Galveston County Auto Crimes Task Force and investigates auto crimes, whether it be motor vehicles, motor homes, ATVs, jet skis, boats, any kind of theft of motor vehicle from the city, and also assists the agency, the other agents with investigations throughout the county. And they also go up into Harris County as well. This is a grant funded position. The grant pays for the officer's salary and the city pays for the fringe benefits, vehicle. No, not vehicle. I'm sorry. The vehicle comes with a grant. Fringe, insurance on the vehicle, and fuel and maintenance. So, and as I said, this is continuing. We'll be going into our 7th year.
Any questions for Chief Jackson on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 6D, discussion relating to approving, ratifying city manager's approval expenditures in the amount of $55,292.72 to Android Construction Services LLC for costs associated with emergency repairs of an 8-inch AC distribution line off I-45 and Durow Road. I think I have Chase on here as well. This is one of the emergency repairs we had to make after a TxDOT contractor broke one of our water lines. This is because it's over 50,000. Of course, it has to come to council, be ratified, and we are in process of working to get these expenses reimbursed to the city. But we still need to get the contractor paid. Chase, anything else you want to add in on that one?
No, sir, Mr. Jackson, that's about it. This was done last Thursday. So again, you know, we're dealing with these issues with these contractors. Android always responds quicker. There's about 8 contractors I contact and they always can respond immediately. That's why we go with them. Thanks.
Any questions related to 6D? Okay, item 6E, discussion related to approving an advanced funding agreement, AFA, from TxDOT to City of Lamarque for CSJ 0500-04-106 at FM 1764 intersection for aesthetic improvements and maintenance. Colleen, you want to talk about this one?
Yes, hi, hello, I'm here. This is just we started this process in 2008 where the city of Lamarque decided to take the opportunity when the expansion is going to brand our city. And this is the first AFA for that specific part of the project. It's for MSE panels and infrastructure for lighting later. So if there are any other questions, we requested the letter from TxDOT and they sent it back to us and this is it. There is one change requested by Dira, which is to make Mr. Jackson the contact and then send it for his signature. So if there are any other questions, that's it.
Any questions related to 6E? If there's none, Mayor, that's it.
Thank you, sir. Continuing on into the regular city council meeting, Monday, August 10th, 2020. We'll call this meeting to order. Let the record reflect all members of council are still present. Item 3A is a public hearing. Madam Clerk, will you call the time, please?
I have 6:21.
Thank you, ma'am. 6:21, we'll close the regular meeting and move into the public hearing. A, conduct public hearing to hear public comment relating to adopt ordinance number 2020-0009, amending Article 3, speed regulations of the Lamarque Code of Ordinances, Section 62-88, reducing the speed limit on the northbound main lanes and southbound main lanes of IH 45 from 65 miles per hour to 55 miles per hour, and reducing the speed limit on the northbound frontage road and the southbound frontage road from 50 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour until the completion of the freeway expansion project by TxDOT. Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll move on to B, conduct public hearing to hear public comment relating to adopt ordinance number 0-2020-011, a request for abandonment of unimproved public right-of-way in the Ambrose subdivision near 1765 and Delaney Road. Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the time.
6:22.
6:22, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Item 4 under old business, consider recommendation to adopt ordinance number 0-2020-0009 as delineated in the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Mayor Pro Tem Bell has a motion. Is there a second? Did we get a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Mitch Titch seconds. Taking, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And are there any opposed? Motion passes. Item B, consider recommendation to adopt ordinance number 0-2020-0011, a request for abandonment of unimproved right-of-way in the Ambrose subdivision near 1765 and Delaney Road. This is the second and final reading. I'll entertain a motion.
So
I
move.
move.
Mayor Pro Tem motions, and is there a second?
I second.
And Ms. McAuliffe seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And are there any opposed? Show the motion passes. Item C, discussion possible action regarding CARES Act interlocal agreement request by the County of Galveston. I'd like to entertain a motion for denial.
So move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Got it.
Are there any opposed? Show the motion passes. Item number 5, announcements. Announcing the first public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 tax rate to be held on Monday, August 17th, 2020, and the second public hearing for the 2020-2021 tax rate to be held on Monday, September 15th, 2020. Ms. Koo, do you have any additional comments? Or I should say, Mr. Jackson, you can instruct her and ask her that.
Yeah, I don't know, Susie, if you got anything you want to add in, you can go ahead. We had a conversation with Dara about the tax hearings when the state made the provisions, I guess you would call them, or whatever, the statements that we could change the mechanism by which we did our public meetings to the Zoom format. This was not one of the areas that they covered. So what we're anticipating is that a hybrid meeting for this, and we're actually going to have the council chambers open. If anybody from the public wants to show up, I don't know why they would, because we're adopting the same tax rate. So I don't really see a provision why, but just to make sure that we meet all legal requirements, we will have the door to the council chamber open. But we're anticipating all of council being on by Zoom, and we'll have one station set up in there in case anybody wants to make a public comment from inside the building. Does that sound fair, Dara?
That's accurate. And we have used that process once before for a planning and zoning meeting, so it won't be the first time we've done that.
While your picture's up there, welcome to the city of Lamarque.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Item B, announcing the first public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2021 budget to be held on Monday, September 8th, 2020. Any comment on that?
Same scenario.
Thank you, sir. Item C, we have a letter of recognition for Council Member Chris Lane from Judge Mark Henry and the Commissioner's Court. Mr. Jackson, I believe you can put that on a split screen for us.
Oh, I'm working on that right now.
Yay. And
There's-
Madam Clerk, do you have a copy of that?
I do have a copy. There's also, it should be a letter attached. Thank you.
I'm gonna do it next.
Okay. Yeah.
And read both of those into for us, please. Madam Clerk,
Sure.
Yeah.
You want me to read it, the letter?
read
Okay.
both, I'll read it.
This is from, it's to Councilmember Chris Lane. Dear Chris, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for your participation in the recent COVID-19 public service announcement. This public health initiative is invaluable to the well-being of our entire county. Thank you for your ongoing service and dedication for the residents of the city of Lamarque, as well as Galveston County as a whole. As COVID-19 continues to impact communities around the country and globe, people are coming together to help stop the spread. Your actions are directly related to keeping our residents safe. Kindly accept the enclosed gavel used. Whoops, it jumped off of the screen.
I'll get it back up there.
Okay. Kindly accept the enclosed gavel used at the June 15th, 2020 regular meeting of the Commissioners Court as a token of my appreciation. If I ever may be of service as your Galveston County Judge, please give me a call, and then it has his phone number, and then it's signed by Commissioner Mark Henry.
Wonderful. Councilman Lane, on behalf of the city of Lamarque and Lamarque City Council, congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Item 6 is the consent agenda. Is there anyone wishing to pull anything off of the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Got a Mitch Titch motion and a Bell second. No discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And are there any opposed? Show the motion passes. Item A, consider recommendation of the proposed fiscal year 2020-21 tax rate of 0.550764. Ms. Koo, is there a certain language we need to use this evening?
No, sir, but we do need to have a roll call.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll first entertain a motion to accept the tax rate of 0.550764.
So move.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. And Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
I have Mitch Titch as a first and Bell as a second, kind of tied with McCullough, but I think he got it before you. He pushed the button before you did. Councilmember District B,
Go ahead and call them all, even though they made the motion, Robin.
okay. Mayor Pro Tem Bell,
Yes.
Councilmember District B, Lane,
Yes.
Councilmember District C, Mitch Titch,
Aye.
Councilmember District D, McAuliffe.
Aye.
The mayor is an aye. Thank you, council. Item 8, show the motion passes unanimously. Item 8, discussion possible action relating to appointments and or reappointments to fill various portions of the boards and commissions. Does anyone have anything this evening? Appointment or reappointment? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 9, requests and announcements. Anybody have any requests or announcements this evening?
I do, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 requests. One is following up on something that came up during budget workshops, which was my interest in us hosting a workshop around providing more detail and shining light on our CBAs with the police department, learning more about the union, and talking about the CBA. And second is that also something that came up, I think not during budget, but at last meeting, was the city drafting up language that we can include when we have our vendor contracts that reiterates any vendors that we work with, their commitment to having a company organization that's committed to equity within their own company, and justice within their own operations. I think that was something that we mentioned, like we could definitely work into stuff that we already have. Is that right, Tink? That's what I remember.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And I am working on that. Hopefully we'll have something that you guys can look at to finalize in September on that one.
That sounds lovely.
Great. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I second.
And all in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Certainly no one opposed. Thank you so much, council. Have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.